Well, what's up, dudes and dudettes? My name is Tim Gettys. This is the Ask Kinda Funny Games Anything for September 2017. I'm going to be answering all your beautiful questions you left over at patreon.com/kindafunnygames. Thank you for that. We really appreciate it. If you would like me to answer your questions next month or someone else to answer your questions, you should go to Patreon. It's cool. And also you get party mode a week early, which is totally worth it for just $1. What are you going to eat, a shoe? Is that the saying? I don't even know. Whatever. Let's get straight to the questions here. Jeremy Shook says, hey, Tim, first off, thanks for being awesome. Thank you. I try. My question is about the future of Uncharted. I personally would like Naughty Dog to wait 4 or 5 years, but after that, would you rather them continue the same story with some spoilers here? I'm not going to spoil that. Or just completely reboot the franchise with a completely new protagonist? So here's the thing when it comes to Uncharted. In my ideal world, we get a lot more things like Lost Legacy. I loved that. I thought it was a great little bite-sized adventure. And
Did you love it? Or did
I
you
did
just
love
like
it. No, I loved it. It wasn't perfect, but I loved it. It was a great slice. I feel like I would take that type of adventure annually and be fine. Little side story here, little side story. I'll take annually.
You're a madman.
I am a madman. And I'm sure that won't last. Like, I won't love it every year. But if they were to change it up a bit and add a bit more mechanics, like maybe each year have something new, I'd be super down. I feel like if they worked out some of the pacing issues, it'd be great. We just don't get games like that. That's the problem. Is it's like there's besides Uncharted and Last of Us, there's no game similar to that. I don't think. At least not similar enough.
In what way?
In terms of presentation and gameplay and like story, like how the story is told. I don't know. It's just kind of like a lost art. I feel like we got a lot of that style of game, like single player, narrative focused, like gameplay only exists to get you to the next story beat style gameplay on the PS2 generation. And then Uncharted came and then we just, kind of moved into this more, it's either a third person action game or a first person shooter, but this type of thing gets lost. So I'd love more Uncharted. A lot more. Let's see. Nerd Cave says, hey, Tim, so I've been making content going on 5 years now. Started off doing podcast, and we are at 225 episodes so far. That's insane. We don't even have that many GOGs. We've been making YouTube videos for about 4 of those years. Over 700 videos and counting on just one of the channels. I edit, stream, run social media, contact developers, and everything in between, but I seem to be spinning my wheels. I absolutely love talking games and pop culture and want this as bad as I want to breathe. How do you breathe? What do I do from here? I want the group that I made to be something, but at the same time, I would love to be part of a company like Kinda Funny where everyone is busting it like I am. Any advice would be great, and if you are ever looking for someone to join the team in the future that loves Mexican Coca-Cola as much as you, hit me up. Zach Dykes. You're in a bit of a pickle, I would say. You're doing it right by doing it. That is the first step. But the problem is, there's no guarantees that anything's going to hit, that you're going to find that audience that is going to, really, that the content's going to resonate with them in that way. However, if you were to try to join someone like an IGN or a GameSpot or, any of the multitude of other options, they would look at what your work and that would give you such a leg up against the competition. Just you having that as a backlog, then being able to go to the YouTube channel and see. I'm all worked up about this. I had lunch a second ago. Now I'm all burpy. Just be able to see all the videos that you have and the consistency in which you put them out and all that stuff, and hopefully the quality that they're at, and to see that you can handle branding and handle all that stuff. They'd essentially give you the job just right then and there, compared to all these schmucks with just resumes. No one really cares about a resume when it's being compared to somebody that is doing what they need them to do. So it's my best advice for you, bro. Kevin Dunkel. Hey, Tim. Out of curiosity, what are some of the video editing software that you and the KF guys use? I wanted to make some videos for my brother and friends, but there's a lot of editing software out there, and I want to know your input. Are there any tips and tricks you wish you knew before that is helping you a lot out these days? These days, it is simple. There used to be a whole bunch of different answers that were good, and depending on your situation, it would change. Nowadays, that's not the case. Get the Adobe Creative Cloud subscription. It's totally worth it.
Man.
Huh?
$50 a month, worth it.
$50 a month, which is a lot of money if you're not making money from doing the thing, but it's totally worth it. There's free trials you can do, and if you're a student, you get discounts. Like, there's a lot of look into it. There's a lot of ways around it. It comes with Premiere, which is the editing software that all of us at Kind of Funny use, and pretty much everyone in the industry at this point uses it as well. When people are making movies, they use different things. There's this program called Avid. You don't really need to worry about that. IGN for years insisted on using it because it made them feel special and better than everyone else. I'm specifically talking about Fran Mirabella, who tried to force us all to use Avid. Still does, and it's ridiculous. But then eventually the people won because everyone was like, I'm just going to use Premiere. And then they just did. And then eventually IGN now uses Premiere and Avid as well. But long story short, use Premiere, learn Premiere. A lot of what you learn in one of the Adobe programs carries over to the others. However, some things are different. It's a little frustrating. But Premiere for editing, After Effects for motion graphics and any type of like light animation you're doing, VFX work and all that. Photoshop is probably the most important core thing for you to learn, because once you wrap your head around Photoshop, it's kind of easy to understand how Premiere would work in video form of it. Then there's a whole bunch of other stuff too that you don't really need to worry about. But the big two I'd say are Photoshop and Premiere. Next step would be After Effects.
That's just hard.
That shit is hard, but it's worth it though. And there's a lot of tutorials that you can find on YouTube or anywhere else. There's a website. Going back to what you're saying about what are tips and tricks, definite tips and tricks I got for you would be go to videocopilot.com and just watch the tutorials, even if you're not going to do anything with it. Just seeing people do stuff with the programs and software opens your mind to understanding how it's used, and it makes you think like, oh, when I run into this problem in the future, I remember that it can be fixed. Once you know that it even can be fixed, then it's an easier way for you to figure out, what do I need to search in Google for? Like, what was that tool called or whatever? And so I definitely recommend that. And also in terms of editing, I like to work backwards from sound to video. I think, and this doesn't always work, but I think that it's very beneficial to get your audio track, at least the timing of your audio, down before you really start editing everything else. Because if you have that like base of music and sound effects and whatever it is that you're going to do, you understand the pace that your edit is going to have. So when you start going through, you can just then get all the B-roll and start putting it on the timeline, and just you can feel it out with the music, which it's a lot easier to do that when there's actually a literal beat that you're trying to follow compared to just kind of being freeform and just putting a bunch of video and hoping it matches up well. You'd be surprised. I find that, I mean, the thing is there's no rules to this stuff. So when you have music and you just throw stuff over it, it tends to look cool. There's a lot of times that you want to go in and kind of perfect it and trim stuff and move things so that they're just right. But just kind of like, don't always feel like you need to go in knowing every single thing you're about to do. Just start at that basic thing, see how it feels. And I think that feeling is a big thing, is being able to watch it and feel it out. Kevin, when I was first teaching him how to edit, had a big problem with that. Where it's like we'd watch something and I couldn't tell him exactly why what he was doing was wrong, but like it just didn't feel right. And that's all that it was. But now he's better at it as he sits over there playing Switch. What you playing? Tetris?
No, not Tetris. I actually changed it up. Axiom Verge.
Axiom Verge.
First time sitting down, getting into it, and it did it. It hooked me real good.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
The soundtrack is killer.
I'm not even listening to it. What a shame.
Oh my God, you're messing up. You're messing up bad. Stephen Osland says, hi, Tim. I'm currently playing my first Metroid game. Oh, so there you go. Similar games. Samus Returns and loving it. Still have quite a ways to go, but already feel like I understand what makes this franchise special and really want to play other titles in it. What title would you recommend to play next? Several people have said Super Metroid. Also, are there any beloved series that you didn't play for a long time that you've had a similar reaction to? Keep on being one of the coolest dudes in video games. Oh man, I am so happy that you're playing Metroid. Samus Returns is an interesting one to jump in as your first one. It's a good game, but I don't know if you heard my review of it. It's not even, it's probably my least favorite Metroid game of the core of the good ones, which is a loaded statement, but there's some bad ones out there that you're just going to avoid at all costs. I feel like the easy answer is Super Metroid. It is the best Metroid, period. And it is such a good game and it holds up very well. It does control a little bit clunkier than Samus Returns, but that's because Samus Returns is like beautifully animated and fluid. Samus or Super Metroid is a bit more like grid based in terms of her motion. You can find it on a bazillion different consoles at this point. Unfortunately, not the Switch because there's no virtual console. But if you have a new 3DS, you can get it there. It's just like a perfected version of the Metroid formula. I feel like Samus Returns is a little heavy-handed in its guiding and weapon and map progression. Like when you see a purple box, you need the purple missile to shoot it, and it's just like, well, I feel like it would have been a little bit better to not be so on the nose with a lot of this stuff, but Super Metroid doesn't have any of that, and it's better off for it. In terms of franchises that I didn't play for a long time and then was like, holy crap, I was missing out, Fire Emblem, totally the answer. Being a Nintendo dude for so long and being in America means I missed out on a lot of the Fire Emblem games, but even once they started coming to America on the GBA, I was like, I don't really care for this. But eventually I got Path of Radiance on GameCube, and I was just like, wow, it's one of my favorite games of all time and one of my favorite franchises as well. It's such a rewarding gameplay loop, and it makes you care so much about the characters because of the damn permadeath shit. And it's such a unique experience for me playing games where I will turn the game off if I lose a character. And I'm like, you know what? That hour, I don't care that I lost it. I want to make sure that my girl Jill, the fucking Dragon Rider, lives on forever. Even though I eventually did let her go in like chapter 19. So close to the end of the game, it didn't matter. Cameron O'Neill says, hey Tim, what do you think of iOS 11? Also, how well do you think the iPhone X and iPhone 8 will sell? I think they'll both sell very well. I don't have numbers for you or anything, but I don't think they'll be the best selling iPhones ever, but I don't think that matters because they've diversified their product offering so much and there's so many phones available that it gets a little hard, even on the Apple front. iOS 11, I am not liking it so far. I've only had it for 2 days, but just like every other iOS, I don't like it when I first use it, but then once I get used to it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. And going back and using the old iOSs on different devices, I'm like, oof, these are really rough. There's a lot of nice quality of life stuff that they've added in 11. So I know there's screen recording, which I think is great, obviously for Snapchats and nudes and things like that. So yeah, it's a good time to be alive. Nicole Humphrey, final question, says, Tim, I agree that the Super Mario Brothers movie is terrible, but I do love it, mostly because of the part where Bob Hoskins says that his full name is Mario. Can you elaborate on why you enjoy the Super Mario Brothers movie? John Leguizamo is why I enjoy the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Amen,
There's
brother.
so much I enjoy about the Super Mario Brothers movie. Is it terrible? Absolutely. We can all agree on that. That's
Aren't
fine.
most things terrible, though?
It starts off with the original Mario Brothers theme. It starts off with that narrated VO for whatever reason. And then you immediately get in there and there's just, they made that world. There was like so much thought put into that world. I collected the trading cards for Super Mario Brothers, the movie. I got them all. I like that Luigi was the main character of the movie. I like that they were just like, you know what? I guess it's not Princess Peach, it's Princess Daisy. We're just going with that. And Luigi's actually the one that like has a thing for her. She has this whole other backstory and they're plumbers from New York. It's like Brooklyn. Like, all right, I guess we're going with that. And Toad's a dude. Just trying to play his harmonica. And then he turns into a Goomba playing his harmonica. Favorite scene of that movie? Obviously, when they're in the elevator. They all start dancing. It's classic. You know what I mean?
Classic.
Yeah, Kevin's really focused on the acting version. I respect that. Yoshi, a highlight of that movie for sure. When they go down that giant tube on the like mattress, I think it was. Very fucking cool. Reminds me of when I was a little kid with Kevin and my brother, and we used to take a mattress and ride it down the stairs of my house.
Every morning.
Fucking rad. But anyway, yeah, Super Mario Brothers, the movie. I hope there's a sequel one day, or at least a reboot. It'd be great and fantastic for kids of all ages. Thank you guys so much for your questions and your supports. We'll be back next month with an AMA. I think it's a Greg month, but who knows? I don't make the rules. Who is it, Kev?
I have no idea. We
don't
haven't
know.
planned that far.
We're going to have to roll those dice. You know what I mean? Till next time. Love you. Bye.